Good morning.
In unison, good morning.
Mr. Mesereau.
Thank you, Your Honor. Should I check this, double check this? Hello.
Hello.
All right. Miss Arvizo, you testified last week that you recall a trip from Neverland with Michael Jackson to a store named Toys R Us. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you testified that Mr. Jackson took you and your brothers and some fans to Toys R Us, right?
Yes.
Do you know approximately when that was?
I don't remember when.
And you did say that on the way Mr. Jackson saw some fans and picked them up, and you all went to Toys R Us together, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson paid for toys for everybody, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall anybody ever complaining that they were being falsely imprisoned at Toys R Us?
No.
Do you recall anybody complaining that they were there against their will, at Toys R Us?
No.
Now, do you know what a sworn deposition is in a civil case?
Kind of. Not really.
Has anyone ever told you that a sworn deposition is a procedure in a civil case where somebody sits down and answers questions under oath?
Yes.
And who told you that?
Well, I was sitting in the one that Gavin took during the JCPenney's case.
And you were also sitting in the one that Star gave in the JCPenney case, correct?
I don't remember that. I was just sitting with Gavin.
Well, didn't you tell the jury last week that you know nothing about the JCPenney case?
I just remembered right now when you said, deposition.
So you sat there in Gavin's deposition in the JCPenney case, correct?
Because he wanted me to be next to him, and I held his hand.
And your mother was there too, correct?
I don't remember her sitting there.
You also sat in Star's deposition, true?
I don't remember sitting in Star's.
Would it refresh your recollection if I just show you the page of the deposition transcript that lists you as attending?
Nods head up and down.
Could I show it to you?
That's fine. I just didn't remember. All I remember is really sitting with Gavin.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at that page?
No, that was the first time.
Well, does it refresh your recollection that you were present for Star's deposition as well?
All I remember is the taping of Gavin's. I don't remember Star's.
Okay, my point is this. When you told the jury last week you didn't know anything about the JCPenney case, that wasn't correct, right?
Well, when you said, deposition, it refreshed my memory. That was a long time ago. I was, 11.
Okay, now, you also told the jury last week you have no knowledge of Gavin having disciplinary problems at school before he ever met Mr. Jackson, right?
I know he talks a lot, yes.
Well, that's what you said. The only problem you were aware of is that he was talkative, correct?
Yes.
You also said too. You were asked by me, to your knowledge, was he ever asked to leave school, and you said you don't know, right?
I don't know, I don't remember.
Well, you sat there in Gavin's deposition in the JCPenney case where he admitted that he got in lots of fights and got thrown out of school, right? You were sitting right there, right?
He's never been thrown out of school.
You heard him say it under oath, didn't you?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago. All I remember, I was in my grandmother's house, and I was holding his hand, and they were taping the deposition. That's all I remember.
Do you remember at the deposition Gavin was asked, have you ever had problems at school where you got into a lot of fights? And he said, yes.
I'm going to object as asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you remember Gavin saying he was thrown out of school for fighting?
Object. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Are you telling the jury you never heard Gavin ever make a statement like that at any time?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as asked and answered, and ask the court to admonish counsel. He knows better than this.
I object, Your Honor, to the colloquy.
I have a right to make a record. And I'm asking the court. This is the third objection in a row that's been asked and answered.
Sustained. You may sit down.
Thank you.
Are you telling the jury today, under oath, that you have no knowledge of Gavin ever being asked to leave school before he met Mr. Jackson?
Object as asked and answered.
Overruled.
All I know is that he was very talkative. I don't remember. I'm not involved in that.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. I interrupted.
I'm not involved in that. My mom is.
Have you ever discussed with Gavin his being thrown out of school for fighting?
All I know is he would get in trouble, so I would tell him, just be quiet, Gavin. You don't need to talk back. That's all I remember.
Have you ever discussed with Gavin his problems with fights in school before he met Mr. Jackson?
I'm going to object as asked and answered.
Overruled.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember? I asked you last week if you had ever discussed the J.C. Penney case with Gavin or your mom. Remember? I asked you that question.
Yes.
You said you had not discussed it with either of them, right?
Yes.
How could that be, if you attended those depositions?
I'm not talking to them about it.
Before.
No, I haven't talked to them about it at all. I'm just sitting there. I don't know anything about the case. I was just sitting there to comfort my brother. He wanted me to be with him. I'm not even paying attention to what he's saying. I'm just paying attention to how he's looking. And that was during his chemo.
So you had never discussed the J.C. Penney case with him before you attended his deposition?
No.
And you never discussed the J.C. Penney case with any of your family members before you attended Star's deposition?
Never.
You never discussed the J.C. Penney case with Gavin or your mom or Star after Gavin's deposition?
Never.
And you never discussed the J.C. Penney case with Star, your mom or Gavin after Star's deposition?
Never.
You just kind of got there, silently listened, left, and never talked to anybody about it, right?
No.
Okay. Now, you testified last week about seeing Mr. Jackson and your brothers go into the wine cellar, correct?
I saw somebody going downstairs. And then when I was already in the wine cellar, I knew who it was.
Was that the only time you ever saw anybody go into the wine cellar?
I saw several times people go down, but I never really went. I always saw, open, people going down, but I never really followed. It was just that one time.
Just the one time?
Yes.
And you described the...
Excuse me, counsel. Mr. Jackson needs to go to the restroom. We'll take a break.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, would it be useful to take care of a stipulation on a technical matter while Mr. Jackson's?
I think we need to wait till he comes back.
Okay, very well. May I see Mr. Jackson, Your Honor? Brief interruption. Do you recall, Miss Arvizo, giving the Santa Barbara sheriffs a detailed description of the wine cellar at Neverland?
Yes.
And what did you tell them?
I told them that I walk down the stairs, and then you make a right, and there's a room and it has sleeping bags. And then there's another room, and it's a way smaller room. And on the left-hand side, there's wine bottles on the wall. And then I think there's a counter in the room, too, and cupboards.
Did you tell them anything about sleeping bags?
Yeah.
What did you tell them?
That after you walk down the stairs and you make a right into the room, and I think there's sleeping bags on the wall. I don't remember.
You told them about cubbyholes with sleeping bags, correct?
Yes.
Now, you're telling the jury today that you've only been down there one time, correct?
Yes.
The truth is, you've been down there many times with your brothers without Mr. Jackson, true?
No.
Do you recall being interviewed by the Santa Barbara sheriffs on August 13, 2003, or approximately that time?
Yes.
Do you remember, you were asked when you observed the wine cellar, and you said, many times, during your visits to Neverland?
Well, many times I've seen it. But I never went down there many times.
How can you see it if you don't go down the stairs into the wine cellar?
Maybe I misunderstood the questions. But I only remember going down there once and seeing it.
Are you saying you never told the Santa Barbara sheriffs you'd been down there many times?
I don't remember. All I remember is being down there once and being able to see everything. I don't.
Did you ever learn that your brothers had been caught down there without Mr. Jackson, having broken into the cellar and drinking?
I don't remember that.
Object. It also, excuse me. Calls for, assumes facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
Now, you're aware that alcohol is kept in the kitchen area, correct?
I don't know.
Did you ever tell the police there's a glass-like closure on a refrigerator that has alcoholic beverages in the kitchen area?
I know behind, like, a glass cupboard there's some. I don't know.
Did you ever see any alcoholic beverages in that refrigerator area?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, you've been in that area many times, correct, with your brothers, right?
When I would go to eat myself, yes.
And typically when would you go to eat by yourself?
In the afternoon.
And when you went by yourself, were you easily able to get in the main house?
Yes.
How did you get in the main house?
I would either ring for somebody to come, or if I remembered the code to get into the main house.
And how did you get the code?
One of the security guards gave it to me.
And did you have any other codes?
No, that was the only one I had.
Your brothers had codes, didn't they?
Yes.
They had codes to the wine cellar, didn't they?
I don't remember that.
They had codes to Mr. Jackson's room, didn't they?
I didn't know they had that one.
And they went up to the room without Mr. Jackson present, correct?
Anytime Mr. Jackson wasn't on the ranch, they were with me.
That's not what you said last week, is it? Last week you said that when your brothers were on the ranch, they always left you alone, correct?
No, when Mr. Jackson wasn't on the ranch, they were with me.
Well, you had knowledge that your brothers were going into the main house when Mr. Jackson wasn't even there, correct?
When Mr. Jackson wasn't there, they were with me. There was no reason for us to be apart if Mr. Jackson wasn't there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you tell the jury last week, when I would visit Neverland, my brothers would go off and, for the most part, leave me alone? Did you say that?
If Mr. Jackson was there, yes, I said that last week.
So now you're saying whenever Mr. Jackson wasn't there, all three of you hung around together, is that right?
Yes.
Did you go into the main house together when Mr. Jackson wasn't there?
Yes. To go eat and watch TV, yeah.
And how many times do you think you did that when Mr. Jackson wasn't there?
I don't know.
Many times, correct?
Well, they're growing boys. They wanted to eat a lot, I guess.
And you visited Neverland many occasions when Mr. Jackson wasn't even there, right?
No, not me.
Well, you went there a couple of times with Chris Tucker, did you not?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson wasn't there during those visits, right?
Yes.
And did you go into the main house with Chris Tucker?
Well, with Chris Tucker, who was there, and with my brothers, yes.
And would you simply grab food when you wanted it?
Whatever was where the drinks were. I wouldn't go into the kitchen.
Well, if you go in the main house, you walk into a lobby area, correct?
When you go through the back way, there's glass refrigerators, and I would grab a drink from there. But I wouldn't go into the kitchen area and grab stuff.
Well, you have to go into the kitchen area to grab food, don't you?
To sit down, and they make it for you.
But to go in on your own and to pick up food in the kitchen area, you have to go into the kitchen, correct?
Yeah, but I'm not going in there where the refrigerators are and stuff.
If you're in the kitchen area, you have to be near the refrigerators, don't you?
But I'm sitting down. I'm not making it for myself or going through things.
But if you're talking about sitting down at the counter area, is that what you're talking about?
Like the bench area, yes.
And Mr. Jackson has buns and rolls and things available right where you sit down, correct?
Yes.
And right to your left is the refrigerator area, true?
Towards the back area and to the left, yes.
And there's sliding doors, right?
They're pulling doors.
How do you know they're pulling doors?
Because I would open them and get a drink once in a while.
And your brothers would also, correct?
Yes.
And you will find alcohol in those refrigerator areas, correct?
All I remember is there was yoo-hoos, juice, different waters. I don't remember seeing alcohol.
But clearly your brothers would go into that refrigerator area when Mr. Jackson wasn't around, right?
Yes.
They would go into the kitchen when Mr. Jackson wasn't around, right?
To get something, yes.
And they would walk through the house when Mr. Jackson wasn't around, correct?
We wouldn't really go into the main house, because there wasn't really anything else to do but eat.
Well, you have all kinds of rooms with toys, games, all kinds of things in that main house, don't you?
But I'm not really interested in those kind of little toys.
Well, they're not all little toys, now, are they?
Mainly from what I remember, yes.
Your brothers were caught on numerous occasions in that house with Mr. Jackson absent, right?
To go get something to eat, that's all I remember.
Well, you described in detail to the sheriffs what you saw in Mr. Jackson's room, correct?
Yes.
You described in detail that there was a lower level, a stairway, and a higher level, correct?
Yes.
You told the sheriffs in detail what you saw on those various levels, right?
Yes.
That's because you were in there on numerous occasions, correct?
No.
And you know that your brothers had that code to get in there when Mr. Jackson wasn't around, didn't they?
Yeah, but the outer door, that's locked too.
But they seemed to get into that also, didn't they?
Not that I remember, no.
Well, you gave the Santa Barbara sheriffs a detailed description of Mr. Jackson's bathroom, right?
The one that's inside the room, yes.
Well, you had spent time in there, correct?
No, I never went to the restroom in there.
How could you give a detailed description of the restroom if you haven't spent time looking at what's in there?
Because I was in the room the one time, and I was just looking around. I had never been in there. I wanted to see, and you can look in and see what's in there.
When your brothers and you were at Neverland without Mr. Jackson, did you go into the theater?
Yes.
What did you do in the theater with your brothers when Mr. Jackson wasn't there?
Watch movies, get little snacks.
What are the kinds of movies you used to watch?
I don't remember.
Okay, how did you get the movies?
We would ask somebody from the front. I don't remember.
Okay, but you had access to the theater when you wanted, right?
Yes, it was open.
No one ever told you you couldn't enter the theater and watch a film, right?
Not that I remember, no.
Nobody ever told you you couldn't have food in the theater, popcorn, ice cream, sodas, whatever you wanted, right?
Not that I remember, no.
And you indicated that you first met Mr. Jackson approximately in the year 2000, right?
Yes.
You indicated that you didn't come back, you don't think, in the year 2001, right?
Yes.
Okay, you started to come back in 2002, right?
Yes.
When did Chris Tucker first take you to Neverland, if you know?
In 2001, because we didn't meet him until 2001.
And you indicated that at one point Mr. Jackson had given your family a vehicle, right?
Yes.
Were you ever in any discussions with Asia Tucker about getting another vehicle from Chris Tucker?
I know, because we didn't have no car at that time. And Chris had told me, I'm giving you guys a Christmas present, and it's Aja's old car.
And you gave Asia and Chris your mother's driver's license information, correct?
Yes.
You gave it to them so the car could be transferred into your mother's name, right?
Yeah, they wanted it so they could put it in my mom's name.
You never told them that Michael Jackson had given your car a family as well.
Well, we didn't have that car at that time. We had no car at that time.
When did you first get a car from Mr. Jackson?
When Gavin was, during his chemotherapy. It was for Gavin.
And didn't you tell the jury last week that you never asked Chris Tucker for any assistance?
We didn't ask him for it. He said, I want to give this to you guys for a Christmas present.
So you then got the driver's license info from your mother and sent it to Chris?
No, I gave it to Asia.
Did you ever get that car?
No.
What happened?
I don't know. We didn't get it after all, the communication broke off because of this.
Okay, so in your mind, but for this investigation, you would have gotten a second car from Asia, correct?
We didn't have a car at that time, so it wouldn't have been a second car.
Okay.
We were driving the bus. We were in the bus.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to, with the court's permission, play the Brad Miller interview tape for the jury. Your Honor, Let me address a technical matter on that, if I may.
Yes.
I've talked with Mr. Snedden, and this is acceptable. We're not quite sure what all the technical problems were, so we got a new disc that was made directly from the original, and it is not the one that's marked 5000. And what we would ask to do, it's in the machine right now, after we play it, we'd ask that the new disc be marked as 5000, and this.
You need to speak into the microphone.
And this old disc is. The one that was marked just be given back to us, if that's all right.
In other words, you want to exchange the new disc for the old disc and keep the same number.
That's correct.
Is that agreeable, Mr. Snedden?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, I'll approve that.
Are you playing off the DVD?
We're going to play off the DVD. And with the court's permission now, we will play Exhibit 5000.
Are you playing off the player down there?
I'm playing off the player down there.
So you need to go to Input 4, and you need to push the DVD player.
Right. I think they had it all set up.
And the screen doesn't matter, because it's just an audio tape.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes. Whereupon, an audio tape, Defendant's Exhibit number 5000, was played for the court and jury. Lorna, is that in evidence?
No.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Are you offering that in evidence?
Yes, we are.
Your Honor, I have no objection. With the court's permission, I would like an opportunity to get a copy of that one. I won't say anything else. But just, if the court would give me permission to get a copy.
You have permission.
Thank you.
It's admitted into evidence.
Miss Arvizo, you testified last week that you didn't know Mr. Miller worked for Mr. Garrigus, correct?
Yes.
He said that twice in this interview, true?
Yes.
Have you ever discussed with your mother who Mr. Brad Miller worked for?
Wasn't really a subject.
Well, have you ever discussed it with her?
No.
Now, you know that your mother appeared for a pre-trial hearing in this case a number of months ago, right?
Yes.
And you knew the issue was whether or not she knew Mr. Miller worked for Garrigus, didn't you?
No. All I knew is she came up here.
You never discussed what she was coming up here for with her?
No.
And never discussed what she said?
No.
Okay, now, this interview that you just heard took place on February 16, 2003, right?
Yes.
And you heard that date when Mr. Miller began the interview, right?
Yes.
This was after your mother and Gavin had sued J.C. Penney for false imprisonment and sexual assault, true?
Yes.
And this was after your mother had claimed that security guards at J.C. Penney, in a public parking lot, pulled her breasts out of her blouse and falsely imprisoned her, right?
Your Honor, I am going to object. There's no facts into evidence of this. She said she didn't know anything about the lawsuit. Counsel is just doing this deliberately.
Sustained.
Now, this interview on February 16, 2003, was also after your mother had called the police on David Arvizo, correct?
Yes.
It was after she had called the police on David Arvizo and accused him of false imprisonment and molestation, right?
After I had told her, yes.
Okay, approximately 1 week after this interview, you and your mother went to another attorney, correct?
I don't remember.
You went to someone named William Dickerman, correct?
I don't know William.
Well, you met with him at the Laugh Factory, right?
I know his name is Bill. I don't know.
And you and your mother met with him to try and put together a lawsuit against Michael Jackson, right?
I never met with him. I only met with him that one time.
What time was this?
A while ago.
And approximately when? Do you know?
No.
Well, you testified last week that at some point, Vinny picked you and your mom up and drove you to the Laugh Factory on Sunset, right?
All of us went. It was me, my brothers, and my mom.
You all went to the Laugh Factory on Sunset, right?
Yes.
And that was after your interview with the 3 social workers, right?
I think so. I don't remember. No, it wasn't. Because after the interview with the 3 ladies was when Asia took us up to Neverland.
When did you go to the Laugh Factory on Sunset with Vinny?
I think it was during the time we were in Calabasas. I don't remember.
You stopped at the Laugh Factory with Vinny, right?
Yes.
And your mom got out to meet Jamie Masada and a lawyer named Bill Dickerman, right?
I didn't know who he was at that time.
Okay.
And, Gavin got off with her.
So Gavin and your mom went to meet with the attorney named Bill Dickerman in the Laugh Factory, right?
All I knew is they were going to go see Jamie. I met him when I went upstairs for a couple of seconds. And I didn't hear what they were saying. I just said, I gave my mom a message and ran back downstairs.
When you say you met him, do you mean you met attorney Bill Dickerman?
Yeah, I just saw him there. I didn't really.
So your mom and Gavin were meeting with him, right?
Jamie was there also, yes.
And that's after this interview with Brad Miller on February 16, 2003, right?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you ever meet with attorney Bill Dickerman after that day at the Laugh Factory?
A while after, yes.
And how many times did you meet with attorney Bill Dickerman?
Once.
Were you with your mother?
All of us were in the room.
And do you mean Gavin as well?
Yes.
And Star as well?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the only meeting you recall ever having with attorney Bill Dickerman?
Yes.
Now, at some point, you went and met with an attorney named Larry Feldman, right?
Yes.
That was after you first met attorney Bill Dickerman, correct?
Yes.
And that was at an office in Beverly Hills, right?
I don't know where it's at.
Okay. You went with your mother, Gavin and Star, right?
And Jamie was there. And so was Jay.
Jay Jackson.
I think he went with us. I don't remember, but Jamie was.
Now, at this recorded interview by Brad Miller that we just heard of February 16, 2003, Major Jay Jackson is sitting there listening to it, right?
He's sitting there, yes.
And it's in his home, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that after this interview, Jay Jackson went to a lawyer with the family.
I don't remember when we went, but it wasn't during then.
And the interview with the 3 social workers was at Jay Jackson's home also, right?
Yes.
And was Jay Jackson there that day?
No, he wasn't.
How many times did you meet with attorney Larry Feldman?
Once.
And at some point, he agreed to represent the whole family, true?
I don't know that.
Well, you knew that he had sued Michael Jackson in the early 90s, true?
I didn't know who he was. I just
never discussed it with your mom.
Never.
Alright, will you agree that shortly after this recorded interview of February 16, 2003, your family began meeting with lawyers?
No, it wasn't shortly after then, no.
How long after it was it?
I don't know, but it was way after.
Way after. Like how long, do you think?
After March. I don't know.
Okay, but you met with Dickerman.
Once.
On Sunset.
I didn't meet with him. I just saw him there.
Okay. And you think that was after you left the Calabasas Inn, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, you'd agree that in this recorded interview with Brad Miller, and in the rebuttal videotape that was shown last week, and in your interviews with the social workers, your mother continually praised Michael Jackson as a father figure, right?
Yes.
And you continually praised Michael Jackson as a father figure, right?
I was just really copying, because I didn't know what to say. I was just latching onto something because David was never really a father. So I was just latching on something to call a father. I didn't know what a father is.
Did you ever discuss with your mother, we're going to call Michael Jackson a father figure?
No.
Never did.
No, it's the boys that brought it up.
Okay, well, certainly your mother praises him in all of these interviews as being a father to her children, true?
I guess seeing the boys so excited, anything that makes us happy, I don't know. She gets it from us.
You were sitting in this interview when your mother said, essentially, she liked the boys to be with Michael Jackson at night because they're safe, right?
I think she was just talking about the times that Gavin would go to Neverland with Gavin and we don't know what happened.
But your mother was encouraging your brothers to go into the main house and be with Michael Jackson, right?
You would have to ask her that. But she never encouraged it. It was the boys wanted to be there.
Well, doesn't she say that in that recorded interview?
If it makes him happy, she's going to push it. She loves for us to be happy. Anything that makes us happy, she's going to say, go ahead, go.
But isn't it true that, as far as you know, she pushed your brothers to be in the main house with Michael Jackson shortly before she went to a lawyer to try and develop a lawsuit against him, right?
What are you asking me? Like?
If you know an answer to what I just said, do you have any?
I'm going to object as argumentative.
She's asked you to rephrase the question.
Okay. As far as you know, your mother was encouraging your brothers to be in Michael Jackson's house at night shortly before she went to a lawyer to try and develop a lawsuit against Michael Jackson, right?
I'm going to object to that question as argumentative and assumes facts not in evidence. It's also compound.
Sustained on compound.
You would agree. You heard your mother on many occasions encourage your brothers to go into the main house and spend time with Michael Jackson in the evening, right?
She wouldn't encourage them. She'd just see them happy. She wouldn't push them to go do it. They would go.
You heard your mother.
I heard it, but I'm telling you what I know.
Okay, she would encourage your brothers to spend time with Michael Jackson at night because she wanted Michael to be the father figure in the family, right?
She never encouraged it. It's whatever the boys want, whatever makes them happy, she's going to let them do.
Now, you said in the interview with Brad Miller, referring to Michael Jackson, he's a bigger father to all of us. He's given us safety. He's given us love. He's given us everything we've ever wanted. He's been our father figure. He's the only thing we know to be a father. You said that, right?
Yes.
And you meant it when you said it, didn't you?
At that point, I still liked Mr. Jackson. And that was the point that David had left, and I don't know, I was just latching onto something, because I don't know what a description of a father is. I had 16 years of just abuse. I don't know what it is. I just latched onto something.
Do you want to take a minute?
I'm fine.
I think it's time for the morning break now.
Okay.